Hey, good morning, everyone. Josh's Severe Weather reporting from Raleigh, North Carolina. Happy Monday to you. Dangerous weather coming here after a couple of days of nasty storms across Texas. We, of course, had May the 4th and the 5th, and now it's the revenge of the 6th or Sith. I don't know. But we are unfortunately in for a high alert day here for tornadoes across the plains. And this outbreak that's coming has the potential to continue past the plains into the Midwest here over the next couple of days and then eventually to the East Coast as well. So the area highlighted to have potentially a high-end event later today into tonight is Kansas and Oklahoma, but that threat for severe weather continues across Missouri, Arkansas, southern Nebraska, even into parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. We could have some severe weather late tonight into tomorrow. And then a second wave comes in behind it, and that continues the chances for severe weather, not just tomorrow, but especially on Wednesday. That is the day that we've also got to be concerned with tornadoes, in my opinion. Maybe again in parts of Arkansas, Missouri, perhaps eastern Kansas and Oklahoma, and then into the Mississippi and Ohio valleys, and spreading to the East Coast as we get to Thursday as well. Multiple waves coming. Here's a look at our water vapor image, and you can see we've got a couple of features on the map to watch. The first feature, very well defined across the Tennessee Valley. This is what was impacting Texas with extreme amounts of hail and severe weather over the weekend. It's finally lifted out. It is pulling moisture up, though, into the eastern United States. So we've got the threat for more tropical downpours and maybe some local severe weather as this spreads eastward later today into tonight across the mid-Atlantic states. Not a high-end event expected, but one we'll have to keep an eye on. The area that's more concerning is this massive trough here across the west, putting on that negative tilt, that northwest to southeastern look. What that's going to do is it's going to pull energy out of the Pacific aloft and moisture out of the Gulf at the surface, and where the two converge and winds increase aloft this evening, we do have that increased threat for severe weather. And I'm going to kind of break down the timing and who's going to be the most impacted. There's a second piece behind that. So you have this circulation here, intense jet that's going to expand onto the plains here tonight. There's also a piece behind it that follows in a couple of days that we need to keep an eye on as well, a little bit farther east. Here is the area highlighted for the moderate risk. This is a 4 out of 5, and you can see it includes Wichita, Enid, Stillwater, Oklahoma City, and Lawton, Oklahoma. In my opinion, I think this may need to be expanded north and eastward a little bit by about 50 miles, but we're going to have to wait and see how things kind of play out. There's an enhanced risk, 3 out of 5, all the way up, and it gets cut off on the map, but all the way up to about Hastings and Grand Island in Nebraska, as far east as St. Joe and Kansas City and Joplin, Missouri here later tonight, and all the way down to about the Red River just north of Wichita Falls, and a slight risk overnight tonight over much of the rest of western and central Missouri, the Ozarks region, western Arkansas, southeast Oklahoma, all the way down to the north of the Dallas area, all the way to Denton and Gainesville and Sherman, Texas, and back to maybe as far west as Garden City. So an intense storm system coming our way, and this is the wording from the Storm Prediction Center, which is certainly concerning to somebody like me who reads these every day. And let me blow this up for you guys to see. I know it's pretty small. Prolonged opportunity for discrete storms to form across western Oklahoma and the parts of southern Kansas. The environment certainly supports intense long-track tornadoes, just like we saw here about 9-10 days ago in the same region. But the concern is going to actually grow in the evening hours, and these discrete storms are expected to move east into an intensifying low-level jet core. What that means is that the wind field is going to grow tonight after dark, increasing our risk to see a stronger tornado. The time frame of greatest concern is going to be 3Z to 6Z. That is between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Central Time over central and northeast Oklahoma. And this is not my prediction. This is what they're saying is they've been considering increasing this to a tornado-driven high risk. We haven't had a high risk since going back to the 31st of March last year. So it's been over 13 months since we've had a high risk. Between moderate and high risk, not a major difference. Honestly, it's just a number of reports. Both can produce a strong tornado. We've even seen strong tornadoes in marginal and slight risk. So that's not the concern, but obviously this is going to be one of greater concern than what you might expect. So here is a look. Let me zoom it back down. Here's a look at where the tornado chances are highest, and it's going to be in this hatched area over Oklahoma and Kansas. The red area has the greatest risk, and in my opinion, I think that could expand some more off to the north and east, and we may see a pink 30% by the time we get to about the lunchtime forecast. Again, not my call. It's up to the folks in Norman who've been working very hard over the last month, and they're watching it, so I trust what their judgment on this. Obviously, we're all meteorologists, but they are specialized in these particular events. But that risk for tornadoes climbs all the way into Nebraska and Iowa, 5% risk, same areas that were hit here about 11 or 10 days ago or so, and even a 2% risk all the way up into South Dakota and getting close to Minnesota. And then unfortunately this map cuts it off, but all the way down to about Dallas later on tonight, there is that risk. There's also a very big wind event expected here. The area in hatched red will potentially see wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour tonight. A lot of folks are going to be sleeping. Whether or not you get the tornado warnings, you have a widespread wind event expected. I wouldn't call it a derecho, although I don't think that matters to most people. What's going to matter are the intensity of the wind that are likely to hit here. And that continues into eastern Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, and western Missouri, and the Tulsa area as well. And a lot of that's going to be while people are asleep. So a very dangerous event likely to unfold here, unfortunately, as we get later into this evening and tonight. There's also going to be some giant gorilla hail expected, especially in the purple areas here along the dry line this evening, maybe late this afternoon even, 4 or 5 o'clock, east of Dodge City, but over to about Wichita, up to about Hastings, Nebraska, and all the way down to the Red River. So nothing new for this area, but hail can cause just as much injury to cattle, to people, to anybody outside, to certainly to property, and it could be a multi-million-dollar damaging event here due to the fact that we could have 3-4 inch hail across this area. Again, nothing new for the plains, but certainly a very impactful event. As we head into tomorrow, the upper level energy from this system lifts north and eastward. We lose a lot of the instability, but we still have the risk for severe weather. There is a possibility we could still see an enhanced risk tomorrow in a future forecast. But overall, the widespread tornado event does lessen some, and this will be streaking northeastward towards the Great Lakes region by the afternoon and evening, Detroit, Grand Rapids, all the way up to Green Bay. But we could see damaging winds over the Ohio River Valley. All of Kentucky is in this. A lot of West Virginia and Ohio, Indiana are in this, even all the way down into northeastern Arkansas. So we'll be tracking that for you guys. The tornado risk is certainly there in that slight risk area, especially. Severe wind, certainly a possibility. And one thing of note here along the Ohio Valley and up to Indianapolis and the I-70 corridor is there's going to be some potentially strong wind, but very big hail across this area, damaging hail in a highly populated area. So be on the lookout for that. This threat tomorrow could actually start before lunchtime, although the greatest risk for this big hail is going to be during the afternoon, I believe. As we head into the day on Wednesday, there's a second piece, and this one is of concern as well. Remember, this forecast I just showed you for Oklahoma, it was an enhanced risk a few days ago. Now we've got a massive area in enhanced risk. Pretty much the I-70 corridor all the way down to northeast Texas. I know it gets cut off on the map here, but I am concerned, and I want to see a little bit more model guidance before making this call, but I do think this area in here could see some stronger tornadoes, and we could see a moderate risk coming. But again, this is just kind of an initial forecast. It will probably change. And this video is probably going to go out of date by this time tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do another one, but I'll keep you guys posted, certainly. But stronger tornadoes, certainly a possibility across the Mississippi and lower Ohio Valley. So that's what we'll be watching for you guys here. You can see that hatched area of potentially significant severe weather, widespread wind damage, stronger tornadoes, and large hail is going to affect potentially 30-40 million Americans on Wednesday. And Thursday, this threat for severe weather heads over to the East Coast and includes Philadelphia, New Jersey, the DMV area, Baltimore, the Delmarva Peninsula, most of Virginia, pretty much all the Carolinas except western North Carolina and all the way down into Georgia. So we are likely going to see severe weather, probably less tornadoes and more strong winds and hail. Also a second area to watch across Texas on the tail end of this front, and that's going to build northward Friday back into Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Yeah, I'm concerned about what happens on the East Coast, but what concerns me a little bit more is that this area just can't take any more rain. And with the severe weather, we're going to see torrential rainfall, very slow storm motion, and a setup very similar to what we saw yesterday. So if you are in central and east Texas, in the Triangle region of Texas here, you once again get battered with the worst weather possible, unfortunately, here. other than maybe we're not going to see strong tornadoes, but we could see a couple. So here's a look at the setup on the NAM model. 700 millibars, about 15,000 feet aloft. You can see winds are increasing out of the south-southwest here this afternoon. And as we get into the nighttime hours, these winds continue to strengthen in the evening hours here. Look at Oklahoma and into Kansas. We see at this wind flow, at this level, I should say, wind flow of 80 knots, which is about 90 miles per hour. So very intense flow out of the south and west will drive this line of storms eastward. Before the line forms, we'll see discrete supercells. As a line forms and moves eastward, there'll still be a tornado potential, but then a growing severe wind potential as the evening and nighttime wears on. This is overnight. Missouri gets it, and then you'll see as it lifts into Illinois and Wisconsin tomorrow morning. We do see some lessening in that wind field, which is good news, but enough that we could still see some severe weather tomorrow afternoon across this area. Now you see this upper low spinning over North Dakota. There's another piece coming behind it. Here it comes into the plains on Tuesday night and Wednesday. This one's going to be farther along to the east, targeting the Mississippi Valley, the Arkansas Valley, southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas Wednesday afternoon. But you can see the wind field is growing here. And once again, these winds showing up at this level of 75, 80 knots, that is going to be very high end and will likely produce severe weather across the mid-south here later Wednesday into Wednesday night. That expands eastward into West Virginia. We could see damage Wednesday night in West Virginia. Thursday, another wave, and this time we are targeting the mid-Atlantic region and potentially all the way down into Georgia as well. And here's the second piece coming out of Mexico into South Texas, and that brings us that threat for severe weather later Thursday across Texas. Here's a look at storm fuel. This is CAPE, stands for convective available potential energy. It's in joules per kilogram. Yes, that's very technical. But in areas here that we're looking at, yellow and red, we're seeing a lot of storm fuel. This is going to be 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's growing very quickly here ahead of our line of storms expected. Very high CAPE. And we continue to have that continuing tomorrow across the Ohio Valley into the Great Lakes region. A lot of storm fuel in place, and yet another push coming even more intense for Wednesday across this area. So we've got a lot of storm fuel in place for thunderstorms. That's not the only ingredient. We need some wind. We need some, we need to have some what we call buoyancy, where the air is going to rise more quickly to build stronger thunderstorms. Because if the air is not buoyant, you can have all the storm fuel in the world, but that cap is there, and that keeps things from growing. As the cap breaks, that's when things go to town. And unfortunately, that's not what we want to see. Here's a look at the significant tornado parameter. This factors in primarily wind shear. Not super high yet this morning, but it does grow very quickly this afternoon, as we will start to see the threat for some tornadoes here about 2 or 3 o'clock. As the afternoon wears on, that number continues to grow into a very concerning index here by this evening. And we see numbers here across Oklahoma and North Texas that are pushing 20. Which is extreme. So not to say we're going to have strong tornadoes in Texas. There'll be a cap down there. Around Oklahoma City on northward, the cap is broken. And at that point, there is a very high-end potential here for these storms. This continues even into Missouri and Arkansas overnight tonight. You'll see things are going to quiet down here late in the night. And then that number starts to grow again tomorrow afternoon with the heating of the day, mainly across the Quad State region here, but we certainly have to be watching it. And then another push comes here Wednesday, and yes, it's very high in Oklahoma Wednesday morning. However, there'll be a cap in place as the afternoon wears on. That's where things are more concerning across this area here. Definitely in the Ozarks region. This is 1, 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Sorry, my pink is clashing here, my bad. But we have to watch the Arklatex region, and eventually this shifts eastward towards the evening, and we're going to be watching the Mississippi Valley. My model doesn't go that far out, but just trust me on this one. It will continue to be a threat. Here's a closer look at Oklahoma here. This is going to be 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock this afternoon, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. That number grows because that wind field grows. That you see that low-level jet I showed you earlier at 700 millibars. As that starts kicking in, the wind shear increases and the ceiling climbs here this evening. So a very concerning setup here. And you can see the numbers just remain extremely high through the nighttime. Doesn't mean we're going to see it all the way down in Texas. I do think we could see a severe supercell down there, but I think more widespread across this region up in here. And then that should move out here tomorrow. And Here we go again, Wednesday. The NAM 60 hours, I don't put as much faith in, but certainly it's of concern. So we're going to keep tracking that for you guys. Here's what the radar may look like on the NAM model. You can see things are going to start popping up here about 4 o'clock along our dry line right in here. And the models have struggled with dry line thunderstorm initiation all year long. I was looking at a model a couple of days ago where we had intense storms in Oklahoma at night and the model showed nothing. So while I do think it's going to be more widespread north of 40, we certainly have to still watch southwestern Oklahoma here around 5 o'clock. And this is 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And this model run of the NAM shows an intense storm bearing down on Lawton here in the 7 o'clock hour, and maybe Oklahoma City after about 8 or 9. So again, don't get too captured in what one model shows. I don't want you to fall into that trap, but this is just a general idea of what's going to happen. This is the dry line here. Once that pushes through, there's still a cold front behind it. As the cold front catches up with the dry line, we will lose the discrete nature of the storms, and then we just have a long squall line, which is moving very quickly and producing widespread intense winds. But on the southern part of that, there could certainly still be some rotation. You can kind of see that here on this model. If you look at the sounding, you'll definitely see that things are going to be pretty nasty here with the flow out of the surface, out of the south-southeast, growing to southwesterly just a kilometer above it. Pretty intense critical angle here, long hodograph, and you'll see there is that tornado threat. So obviously, nobody's immune to this outbreak. We're just gonna have to wait and see. And this is concerning. I'm not laughing, by the way. I think this will be pretty serious. But after everything moves out, we continue to see with that low-level jet here on the tail end of things, we continue to see an ongoing tornado threat, unfortunately, here across central Oklahoma. And this is going to be around midnight tonight central. And then finally, things are going to move away. Muskogee, Tulsa, you've got to be watching for things overnight tonight. Finally out of Oklahoma by daybreak tomorrow. I was showing you Wednesday, by the way. Here's what we're going to have to keep an eye on. And even though those tornado parameters are growing, we don't quite have the instability and the impetus for a storm to really get cranking here. But we'll have to watch things in southeast Oklahoma Wednesday afternoon. I do think Oklahoma City is going to be in the clear, as this front's going to be through that region before Wednesday at lunch. Here's a look at Kansas. I did not want to ignore you in Kansas. I do think we actually have kind of a bigger hail threat and maybe even a pretty big tornado threat here, especially around Wichita, Andover, Hutchinson, even up to Salina, even to Beatrice, Nebraska. I think that's how they say it, and if not, I apologize. So here's what's going to be challenging to predict. You see this one squall line here, that's the dry line. This is the cold front. Where the two meet up, we may actually have some mergers of storms. And when storms start merging, that actually increases the amount of potential wind and maybe increases our chance for a stronger tornado. So Kansas, you could definitely see an EF3 or EF4 tornado this evening, 8 or 9 o'clock. I don't know where exactly. I want to say that the models are all going to nail it, but I've done this for 21 years, and I will tell you there will still be some uncertainty even an hour before it happens. So just be on the alert here, because things could certainly get really bad. Eastern Kansas here, 10, 11 o'clock tonight, and then the threat shifts east of 35 around midnight or so. That's when Kansas City and Olathe, Leavenworth get hit probably close to midnight, maybe as soon as 10 o'clock, and then things should clear out of here by morning. We get a break tomorrow for the most part. Then our next shortwave moves through, and it could impact places like Pittsburgh and Fort Scott here early in the day Wednesday, but primarily it's out of this region by then. Here's a look at Missouri real quick. You're going to get a nasty line of storms moving in here towards evening in northwestern Missouri, around 10 o'clock across the more populated areas of western Missouri. And this will continue, by the way, overnight. Dangerous storms. We may see tornadoes over central Missouri, including Columbia and Jefferson City, maybe Springfield, right around 1 or 2 in the morning. St. Louis, you've got to be on the alert for this. Right now, my model shows it falling apart, but around daybreak tomorrow morning, things could be concerning. And then we get a break. And then honestly, I think for eastern Missouri, not as bad tomorrow, but we'll have to see. But I think Wednesday with the second piece coming in, we've got maybe some greater concern, especially in southeastern Missouri. Again, this could change. Real quick in Nebraska, if anybody's watching from Nebraska, please let me know. I've not heard from anyone yet, but I know you have a lot of folks in Lincoln and Omaha that have had a lot of rough weather. And unfortunately, today looks like it's going to get rough again here about 6, 7 o'clock. The potential for massive hail, some tornadoes, 80 or 90 mile per hour wind gusts rolling right through this evening. And then we get a break overnight tonight We'll keep an eye on things tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be as intense, and then everything's moving away by Wednesday as it turns quite a bit cooler. Iowa, not Ohio, Iowa. We will see storms moving in from the west here early this evening, bearing down on places like Ames and Des Moines around midnight, maybe a little sooner depending on timing, and then moving through eastern parts of Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Ottumwa, around 3 or 4 in the morning, and then out of here by morning. More storms could pop up tomorrow. Again, this is just one model. Let's take a look at the rest of the area though real quick. And you will see out ahead of all of this, we still have this one disturbance this morning. Keep an eye on things in East Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, into the Carolinas, Northeast Georgia this afternoon. There could be some severe weather out of this. Another wave tonight over Middle Tennessee. Pretty marginal, but one we need to keep an eye on. But really the main event will start tomorrow. You'll see that here moving through Illinois, Indiana, kind of in 2 different waves. Then Kentucky tomorrow evening. And then we obviously have to keep an eye on things across the Mid-Ohio Valley into the Appalachians here tomorrow night. But unfortunately, we're going to get a big break and things are going to be wide open. And Wednesday, I think a better chance for severe weather across this region, maybe a moderate risk coming. Here's a look at the European. And you guys can see this is early in the day Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central. And then as the afternoon wears on and our next surface low moves through Missouri, again, the resolution not very high on it, but you can see the area that's going to be targeted here Wednesday afternoon for severe weather. And then Wednesday evening, it's probably not going to look like this, but you get the picture here. Northern Louisiana, much of Arkansas, the Tennessee Valley into Kentucky. We have to watch for severe weather Wednesday afternoon. And then Wednesday night, moving into Alabama, Georgia, upstate South Carolina. Second area to watch here, firing up across the lower Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes region. And then as we head into Wednesday night into West Virginia and Ohio, and then Thursday, Virginia, North Carolina, down to Georgia, and Pennsylvania and Maryland, by the way, are going to see that rough weather. And here's a look at the lightning intensity here. It's going to be a flashy day, to say the least, here, a Wednesday afternoon from Northeast Texas into Kentucky, as well as Illinois. Second piece to watch in Iowa. So rough weather here up and over this big ridge of high pressure here Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. Oops, sorry about that. Here's Wednesday night. You can see lots of lightning expected here. As we get closer to the event, we'll have a better handle on timing. And then Thursday, that expands eastward. And here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Showers and storms, which will bring tropical downpours again today into the Carolinas and Virginia. We'll see maybe some severe weather, but more likely some heavy rainfall like we saw over the weekend. Here's a look at tonight. Things should gradually fade. We'll still have some stuff in the mountains to watch. And then tomorrow, more showers and storms, kind of the same area. But really, Wednesday and Thursday are where we need to be most concerned. Wednesday, we got a first piece that moves through, and then the main event comes with our front on Thursday. As this low pressure moves through Ohio in the afternoon, we'll see storms out along and ahead of it. Pennsylvania, you need to be watching. DMV area, Northeast Maryland, Delaware, and South Jersey here in the afternoon and into the night. Heavy rain for New York City and southern New England. Poconos could have severe weather and heavy rain as well. And then this front moves through. It'll be a lot cooler on Friday, still unsettled, and then unseasonably cool this weekend with more storm systems heading in our direction. Next week will be cool and unsettled as we get quite a bit of rain. Finally, our lightning map here for the next few days. This is Tuesday evening. Big lightning expected over Indiana and Ohio, as well as parts of the Mid-South. Tuesday night, pretty active across the Ohio River region here. And then continuing into Wednesday over the Carolinas, we get a break. Wednesday night, more showers and storms, especially back in Tennessee. We'll also see them around the Potomac region. And then Thursday is probably going to be our most active day. You can see here in the warm sector, lots of lightning. See those pinks and purples over the Delmarva, over Maryland, over the Carolinas, Virginia, even all the way down into central Georgia, and as far northward as New York City and the Poconos. That'll move away quickly, and we should see quieter weather by Friday. I'm watching the tropics for you guys. This video is not going to talk about that. We've got a couple weeks before things will start boiling up, but my concern over the next few days will be tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds, and flash flooding. I appreciate your time today. I hope you all have a blessed day. Thank you so much. Please share this with your friends. As a meteorologist, I know I get very technical. I can talk a lot about this, but I really just want folks to be prepared here. This is not here to scare everybody, although I do think we do have scary weather coming. But my goal is to make sure just one more person is prepared for what's to come. You can never be too prepared for the way the weather has been. So thank you all so much. I give all the glory to God. He has blessed me with this channel. He's blessed me with an audience. and just blessed me with a changed life. And this is my calling as a meteorologist. Up until I became a Christian and a believer in God, um, I I was basically putting all my value in how many people listened to me and what my friends thought and how much money I made and all this stuff that I think the world wants us to think is super important. But it's not going to matter when our time on earth is gone here. What matters is that we are forgiven for our sins, for the fact that we're jealous of each other, the fact that we all are not as tolerant as God wants us to be. And I will say that since I have made the choice to become a Christian, I've become a lot more understanding of other cultures and people of different beliefs. And I do my best to try to meet people where they're at. I believe there's this great saying I heard a while ago that says, before you bring somebody to higher ground, please find common ground, something like that. I probably botched it up, but just know that we're all on common ground here, no matter what you believe. And I'm not going to judge you on your belief system. It may be completely different than mine because I was there. But what I will say is that it's an amazing, amazing thing to see what God can do in people's lives and what he's done in my life. And I pray that he does that in your life, because in the end, it's just going to be such a relief to know that eternally we can live with Jesus in heaven, that all of our sins are washed away, that the crimes have been thrown out, and that there's a new beginning. Becoming a Christian is just a beginning to what can be a very fruitful life and what will be an eternal life. And Psalm 46, David says that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. We should not fear what's coming. What we should do is understand that there is a city of God waiting for us. And I pray that you've made that choice. Hope you all have a wonderful Monday. Hope you have a wonderful week, and please be safe out there. Catch you soon.